This is a video that's kind of returning to an old subject. A little while back I did a video on the City and Brixton Railway. I'll link to the video in the description below, but just to refresh your collective memory. The City and Brixton Railway was a tube line proposed in 1897 that would have run from the about-to-be-abandoned King William Street station, near Bank, to Brixton. Stations along the way would have been London Bridge, St George's Circus, Lambeth Road, Kennington Cross, Oval, Lawn Road and Brixton. What I found odd about it was that with the exception of Lambeth Road station and the section from Oval to Brixton, the whole thing basically duplicated the already existing City and South London Railway, which is now part of the Northern Line. None of the stations were more than a few minutes' walk from a City and South London equivalent, and in the case of Oval, they would have shared a station. Even Lambeth Road wasn't that far from Elephant and Castle, although the modern equivalent of Lambeth Road would be Lambeth North. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Why compete with an already successful line? It was only while I was researching my video on the Brixton cable tram, which I'll also link below, that it hit me. The City and Brixton duplicated the City and South London very closely, but it duplicated one of the tram lines exactly. The London Tramways Company had lines from Westminster Bridge Road and London Bridge down through South London to Brixton. The only substantial difference between the tram line and the proposed tube was that the tube went right into the city proper. Now you might recall from the Brixton tram video, or you might find out if you're planning to watch it after this one, that at Kennington Gate there was a changeover. In 1892 the tram line from Kennington to Brixton was converted to cable haulage, which meant that the horses had to be unhitched and the necessary cable apparatus fitted to the trams. Suddenly, things make a whole lot more sense. The City and Brixton could potentially offer a much faster service for commuters. No changing trams, no crossing the river from the city, and you weren't limited to the slow speed of a horse or a cable. This also explains why the City and Brixton was going to share a station with the City and South London at Oval. Oval Station is almost directly opposite Kennington Gate. In other words, this was where City and South London passengers living in Brixton would have caught the tram. How much more convenient just to change platforms and get a fast train home. Presumably they were also going to capitalise on what would become known as the Sparks effect. What's hard for us to picture these days is how revolutionary electric trains appeared to the Victorians. Here was a quiet, clean, smooth-running, fast form of transport, with no visible form of propulsion. It didn't produce smoke unless things went wrong, or manure unless things went really wrong. The motors were compact and could be built into a carriage or tram. Electric traction must have appeared almost magical, and it was a huge draw for a railway. Perhaps this, even more than speed and convenience, was the trump card the City and Brixton thought they had. So, with this in mind, would it have succeeded? I'm going to say, as I did previously, that I don't think it would have. The thing is, as I said, there was already an electric tube train here. Unless they were hoping to put the City and South London out of business, at best, they were going to divide their market for much of the line's length. Secondly, there's the question of money. The trams were popular because their fares were cheap. I don't know if the railway was planning to charge lower fares or aim at a more upmarket clientele. But it seems like a gamble either way, particularly given that low cost was also a selling point of the tubes. And thirdly, it wasn't just the tubes that could boast electrification. In 1899, the London Tramways Company was taken over by the London County Council, and in 1904 the lines between Brixton and Westminster had been electrified. No need for a changeover at Kennington. The City and Brixton got bought out by the City and South London in the end, so we have no way of knowing how things would have panned out, but honestly, I don't see this as something that was going to succeed in any form. I hope you enjoyed this competitive tale from the tube. If you did, then please do hit the like button and maybe subscribe for more content like this. As always, I'd like to thank my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon for being the sparks effect to my commuter railway. And I'll see you all again very soon for another tale from the tube.